just came to say goodbye. I'm in the corner watching you kiss her. Oh, and I'm giving it my all. I'm not the guy you're taking home. Ooh, I keep dancing on my own. In the night, said I'm in the corner watching you kiss her. Oh no, I'm right over here. How do you see me? I'm giving it my all. I'm not the guy you're taking home. I keep dancing on my own.
Call me Mrs. Leroy. Might as well. I'm walking through a ghost town. Y'all ain't playing my sounds. Don't tell me to calm down. Don't tell me to calm down. Only time I go backwards is when I wanna moonwalk. Don't test me, my mood's wrong. Don't test me, my mood's wrong. We are who we say that we are. Yeah, we're lost in the stars, and it's all from the start. Never running no pace, never on the right page, but we still read that book, and we still run that race. Ay, Mississippi Racer riding out, no shortcuts, no time for that. Mississippi Racer riding out till the wheels fall off, I'm driving that. Mississippi Racer riding out, we'll stop burning, strike the match. Mississippi Racer riding out, red light, green light, red light, good night. Ay, red light, green light, red light, good night. 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 Time to chill, don't sweat it.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Sideline to Sideline. Tonight, we do not have Brett gracing us with his incredible intro. So I'm here. I'm Wire to Wire Gene, NFL genius Gene Walzak. And to my right, I got Mr. Taking It Deep, Mr. Birds Deep, Mr. The Godfrey.
What's up, y'all? Football time again. Best time of the year. Still not too cold out, at least where we're at. So, last week in the NFL was crazy, as always. But
The NFL's wild. NFL is absolutely wild. Last Thursday's game, you had the Cowboys. I called it. I told you it would be a little funky, a little weird, and the Cowboys would cover, or the Giants would cover the spread as the Cowboys would win. End up working out exactly the way I said it would, as Brandon Aubrey missed a field goal to cover the spread to win the football game. With that being said, our man Kyle Edwards will be with us shortly. But to start off, let's talk about some NFL action, some things that happened this past week in the NFL season. Now, I will tell you this. There will be no Eagles talk on this show today. We just did a whole hour of it. Listen to Birds Deep. Check us out. But there is a lot of football that happened this past weekend, a lot of stories happening throughout the NFL that we're going to cover all of them. We're going to get through as many as we possibly can, including the Chiefs placing lead receiver Rashee Rice on IR, but not saying it's season-ending IR. They're saying they think it might not be a torn ACL. I think
I don't understand that.
I've never seen a situation, Godfrey. I've never seen a situation where the initial report said it's a torn ACL, and then they did the ACL testing and they said it's a torn ACL, but they're just waiting for the MRI to confirm, and then they confirmed and it wasn't a torn ACL. I don't know. I guess maybe it's not as bad, and we'll pray it's not. Rashee Rice is hell of a wide receiver. I will say this, though. His mom's an idiot. Did you see the video of his mom stealing on camera, looking directly at she stole someone's package wearing a Mama Rice shirt, like a custom-made Rashee Rice's mom jersey? Did you see that, Godfrey?
No. Is that real?
Yes, it's 100% real. You have to look it up after the show. It's hilarious. But speaking of that, the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be looking to fill a hole there at the wide receiver. To start the season, Rashee Rice, Hollywood Brown, 1 and 2 on the depth chart, both of them out for the presumable future. Hollywood Brown out until like around January. Rashee Rice could be out for the season, could be 4 weeks, could be 6 weeks. I don't know. But they're going to try to have to fill that wide receiver hole Where do you think they go to fill that wide receiver hole, Godfrey?
I mean, I know every season we hear this since they haven't had Tyreek Hill. Oh, they should trade for this guy. Davante Adams isn't going to go there. There's no way the Raiders are going to trade him.
No, I think that's a pipe dream also. I agree with
pipe
you.
Dream. The candidate I can think of that they should go after, if they are willing to trade him, would be an Amari Cooper. I think he'd be a good fit there.
Okay.
Do I think they're going to make a move? I don't. I think they're going to rely on Juju Smith-Schuster. People think I'm nuts for saying that, but I know Andy Reid, and I don't really see them making it. And he's not the GM, but he's got a very heavy influence on what the GM does there.
Look, I'll say look out for DeAndre Hopkins. He's in a situation over there. Last year of a contract in Tennessee. Tennessee's not really competing. Perfect guy to fit in the mix with Patrick Mahomes. I could see DeAndre Hopkins.
Gene, I would love for that to happen because Rashee Rice is on my dynasty team and DeAndre Hopkins is on my dynasty team. So from your lips to God's ears, I would love for that to happen just for personal gain. But I mean, I could see that being a good fit as well, right? I mean, I don't. But dude, the thing that is still weird about the Chiefs situation is Rashee Rice, they said they're waiting for the swelling to go down. I've never heard of a situation where a player might have a torn ACL where you have to wait for the swelling to go down to see if it's torn. Doesn't make any sense at all. And maybe, just maybe, we could have at a larger scale, a Jordan Love type of situation where they thought it was a MCL, he'd be on injury reserve. Maybe it's a severe MCL sprain or a really bad hyper extension. But I don't understand. You look at it and it's like it's a torn ACL. The only thing you're looking for is if there's further damage, like there's more than you fear, meaning like it's PCL, whatever, one of those really bad ones where you're tearing all the ligaments. And I hope that it's not, but it's just really weird how the messaging is being handled and how they're putting it out there. And then
you're absolutely correct. I agree with you 100% on this. I think the longer you wait to hear torn ACL, the better it is for Chiefs fans. Because the longer they wait to say torn ACL, it doesn't sound like it'll be a torn ACL. Now, Linda, checking in. Listen, Northeast Sports Streaming. Check us out on Roku. Linda, Mac, they do a phenomenal job over there. Appreciate you guys having us. She asked if Baker has an efficient game and the Bucs win. Do we call the Bucs the favorite to win the division? Well, Linda, yes, the answer would be yes. I think they would be the favorites to win the division. However, I am on the other boat tonight. I have looked at this Atlanta Falcons team, and if there's one thing that I'm sure of you can't do against the Atlanta Falcons, it's throw the football. If Baker has a game where you could throw the football in that no-fly zone in Atlanta, 100% you have to say that. I think this matchup plays right into Atlanta's hands, but we'll break it down. We're going to wait for Kyle. We're going to do a little, a little recap of the previous week, but I like Atlanta tonight, and I like Atlanta big. Not maybe big, but I like Atlanta to win the football game, and I think it'll be lower scoring because of Atlanta's defense. Raheem Morris has created no-fly zone over there in Atlanta, and I guess we'll see. But if Baker does have an efficient game and the Bucs win, they're definitely the favorite to win the division.
I would agree. I'm on your side. I don't see it going the way. I mean, we'll break it down more, but I will tell you that one thing the Eagles didn't do, which you can do to Baker, is if you have to make him make other reads than his first read, that's when when he has to reassess and go somewhere else. That's when it becomes a problem for him. So, and that secondary is much more game, I think, right now than the Eagles secondary. So Baker's been inconsistent his whole career. And that's, you get too good, you get two crappy ones. I mean, people like him. I think I like his story, and I hope he's successful. But I just think he's middle of the road, and he's going to have good games and great and bad games.
Bro, Chase checks in. He says they're not getting anyone. They're going to try to make it work, which he hates. Would love the DeAndre Hopkins signing. I think it happens. I really do, but we'll see.
Well, they didn't cut DeAndre Hopkins, right? He's still
he means trade. It's not going to be much. It won't cost much to get DeAndre Hopkins off the books for them to play with a little bit more with Treylon Burks, Tyler Boyd, Calvin Ridley. They'll be fine without Nuke over there in Tennessee. They have a plethora of wide receivers. They just need to worry about the quarterback to actually get him the ball. So we'll talk about that. Speaking of wide receivers that are on the move, Davante Adams. Davante Adams has officially asked for a trade from the Las Vegas Raiders, and I guess something that we seen coming a mile away, talked about in the offseason. They didn't want to be in Las Vegas. The question I more have is this. Obviously, we're going to ask where he goes. But him having a hamstring injury a week after Antonio Pierce said a couple guys on the field made business decisions, and then being on the trade block, you watch the second half of that. I watched it twice now just because I wanted to see what Antonio seen. Davante Adams quit in that football game. I don't want to be that guy. I don't ever accuse Davante Adams of quitting in football. He quit in that game. You go look at the second half of that football game. Jacoby Myers and Trey Tucker got every pass thrown to them. Davante Adams was a ghost. If Davante Adams wants the football, guess what? Davante Adams will get the damn football. He quit in that football game.
Yeah, I agree. Listen, Davante Adams, I wish Brett was here for this conversation, but the first 2 years of his career, Packers fans wanted to run him out of town. Okay, he was a second-round pick. And, there are times where you have seen games where he kind of takes some plays off. I'm sorry. You have seen that over his career. It gets masked over, right? But in this situation, it's not getting masked over. And guess what? He definitely did that. And now the Raiders said that the injury is real and it's not them keeping him out or him saying he's injured because he doesn't want to play. That's what they've said. Okay, I'll take them for their word, I guess. But, there's only one place he's going to go. We know where he's trying to go. And we know that quarterback would love for him to go there.
I mean, there's two places he mentioned. He mentioned where he wanted to go.
The Steelers and the Jets.
No,
right?
It's the Jets and the Saints. He wants to either play with Derek Carr again in New Orleans, or he wants to go to the Jets and play with Aaron Rodgers. So I
see the Jets have them more than the Saints would happen.
The Jets have to.
Mm-hmm.
The Jets have to.
Okay,
I don't know if you listened to last night to Wire to Wire, and if you have, it's okay. I'm sure you'll download the episode and listen to it later. I gave you my play of the year. My play of the year. I also said, if I don't get this pick right, I will give up Pick'em for the rest of the season. For the rest of the year, if I don't get this pick right. Jets plus 2.5 Sunday morning versus the Minnesota Vikings. I love the Jets in London. I think if anyone can break down that Brian Flores defense, it will be Aaron Rodgers. He's running like a cover 8 style. It's basically a cover 4 in which one of the safeties is blitzing. They're putting everybody at the line and dropping people into different coverage. And you have to guess who's coming and who's not and process it a lot quicker. Aaron Rodgers will be the one processing it. Aaron Rodgers is significantly better passer rating versus zone than he does versus man. And Brian Flores is known to run a ton of zone. I think this is the lock of the century Sunday morning. I love the Jets in that football game. But speaking of Davante Adams going to the Jets, where do you think he ends up? I think he ends up in the Jets. Dan Orlovsky said he ends up in the Jets. What say you, sir?
I don't know if the Saints have the cap room for him to go there. I could be wrong on how that works, but even money aside, I think he goes to the Jets.
Saints do not have the cap room for it, just to be clear. But
say what?
The way the Saints do not have the cap room, just to be clear. But they can make the cap room, and they always do. And I never doubt the Saints when it comes to cap room, because what they essentially do is they constantly find cap space somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if he goes to the Saints, I guess whoever gives a better. They said they were willing to give up a second-round pick for him. I mean, the Jets are in win now mode, so I really think that I have some questions about what's going on there. They seem to be unraveling. They need a win this week. If they don't win this week, they're going to unravel a little bit more. I mean, they should have not lost that game against Denver. There was no excuse for that. Then the quarterback comes out and says, Aaron Rodgers, after Saleh talks about the cadence, and then Saleh walks it back, and then, You're hearing rumors of Garrett Wilson saying my route tree wasn't what it used to be last year. Now it's different. And I think where the problem can come in here is the young players that are on the team, and I've always felt this way, when Aaron Rodgers brings in his guys. Alan Lazard is a guy of his. Devontae Adams definitely his guy. So I think he ends up there because of that. And if the coaches are trying to win now because their asses are on the line, because make no mistake, if the Jets don't have what the owners deems a successful season, the GM and the coach are gone. Everybody's gone. Okay, no doubt about it. This is the make it or break it season for him. So I think he's going to be there because, they're willing. They've showed they're willing to make a desperation trade, a la Hassan Reddick, who they knew wasn't happy with his contract. So they'll do that, and I think Devontae Adams will be happy there. To me, if I'm the Raiders, I'm trading him. I don't need you here, right? Like, my thing is that a part of the reason they had Antonio Pierce come in there is because he was supposed to be able to handle Devontae Adams, among other good things I think he did last year as the interim coach. And I still think Antonio Pierce is a quality coach. But that's a cancer on your team. That's BS, man. Like, it's not like they were 0-4. They beat the Ravens at home, came back, and it's almost like he's one of those dudes where if he's not involved, the team isn't going to win. And that's not always the case. They won last week. I think they're playing better than people wanted to give them credit for. And
yeah, they're 2-2.
Yeah, I just, it's crap, man. Like, so let him go there. It's such a baby move by Devontae Adams, and it is what it is. So, yeah, he's gonna end up in the Jets. I mean, I don't see how it doesn't happen. I mean, what do you have to get? What do you have to lose by the Jets by getting him? Right then, if you have him, there's no excuse for weapons because you have Mike Williams who's starting to play better every week. You have Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams. I better not see Alan Lazard on the field unless he's a fourth receiver. Like, don't force him in the lineup. Those are your three guys. And that's pretty hard for people to cover. So you have all the weapons, Aaron. So they got to do it. I mean, it just makes too much sense, right? I mean, people were thinking it before the season, and now it's come to fruition. Where there's smoke, there's fire.
Do you think other guys, a lot of guys being talked about being moved, do you think other guys get moved around this trade deadline? I think this might be a very active NFL trade deadline. Travis Etienne's a name that a lot of people are bringing up with the collapse that's happened in Jacksonville. Another name that gets brought up constantly is, do the Dolphins make a move at wide receiver without Tua being there, move on from either Hill or Waddle? I think there's a lot of situations in which, like, that Dolphins situation is an absolute mess. You watch them play Monday Night Football with Snoop Huntley. You got Tyreek Hill screaming on the sideline. They're showing each other up. Like, Snoop this is Huntley. Not, yeah, I mean, that's his nickname, Snoop.
That's funny.
I think that, I think it's a very interesting setup that's going on there down in Miami, in which the inmates are running the asylum. A little joke that a lot of people use, but it looks like it's a player's coach is losing control of his locker room. And what I will bring up is what I've always brought up, and what I will say again: they made a huge mistake letting go Brian Flores. Brian Flores was right. Brian Flores has died for our sins. Mm-hmm. He's over there in Miami. I mean, Minnesota, balling. His Minnesota Vikings are undefeated. Miami's 23.
Listen, I gotta say, people like to put the genius tab on coaches way too early.
Yep.
And Mike McDaniels is another recent example of that. I've been saying it about him, and it shows that he's having a problem that some other young coaches are having, taking control of the locker room. For one, you need to prepare Tyler Huntley better, or get a more accurate quarterback. Like, Tua is accurate. He gets rid of the ball quick. Find someone. There's people out there. Make a trade for someone if you have to.
You know why they signed? It's so funny. Do you know why they signed Snoop Huntley?
No.
Because he's an off-season workout friend of Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle had a ton to do with that, which is why they signed him in there, because he already has some experience throwing the ball. Jalen Waddle.
Was Tyreek Hill yelling at Jalen Waddle saying, "Yo, this is your boy. This is your boy"?
I don't know who he's yelling at.
Dude, the play calling was awful. The game plan was awful.
Speaking of someone that loves bashing the Miami Dolphins, I got my man Kyle Edwards joining us.
Hey, what's up?
We're trashing the Miami Dolphins right now, and Mike McDaniel and that genius head coach that he is. we're trashing them right now. Where are you at with the Miami Dolphins? 1-3. Tyreek Hill's freaking out on the sideline. They have no quarterback and you got at least 2 more weeks without Tua.
Yep. And I think the interesting part of it was you saw on the other side, Tennessee with Callahan had a game plan once Mason Rudolph went in. The Dolphins went into this game knowing Huntley was going to start and acted like they didn't know what to do with him. And I know that early on, he had a couple of swing passes, Tyreek Hill dropped one or whatever, but it just seemed like they weren't sure how to attack Tennessee with Huntley. And for all the speed that Tyreek Hill and Waddle have, you would think you'd be able to scheme them open and get them into comfortable areas that Huntley can hit them. I know Hill had the one streak down the left side and Huntley threw it a little short and it was knocked away, but they look like the team that made the decision mid-game to go to Huntley and had to find their way as opposed to Tennessee. So I think they are a mess. I think the Tyreek Hill freaking out stuff will just get worse until Tua gets back, but by then they could be 1-5 or something.
See, I don't blame Tyreek for freaking out though. I don't.
No,
blame
I
him.
mean he got open and Huntley missed him.
Doesn't matter. You can't show up your teammates.
Right.
You
Exactly.
can't.
I just got in there.
Right. You can't show up your teammates. I agree there. However, I do think the example you bring up, Kyle, points to what I'm about to say. The experience of the assistant coaching staff on Tennessee is better than the experience of the assistant coaching staff in Miami. Bill Callahan Sr. is the offensive line coach, one of the best of all time at that job.
Yeah.
Okay. And that is just speaking to a little bit of their depth. I don't know of anybody, it seems like Mike McDaniels is like an idea guy, right? Like, here's my idea, and everybody else in the room, yeah, that's a great idea. Where I feel like Tennessee's like, I don't know if I would normally do that. They seem to be more of an organization right now that will speak the truth, even though it might come across rough or unpopular, a la how Callahan spoke about his quarterback at the press conference, whereas Mike McDaniels is going to try to, spray some air freshener on the fart and pretend like it's not there. I mean, listen, this guy's supposed to be an offensive genius. Mm-hmm. You do not need to do a ton to get the ball to Tyreek Hill. You can find a quarterback out there that can throw the ball accurately and quickly. It does exist that you can do in a short amount of time. Tannehill wants to start the rest of the year. He doesn't want to come in for 2 or 3 games, right? And there's other guys. You got to do your job as a GM or a coach. And when the coach says to the GM, oh, yeah, Huntley will be able to do it. And then Gene's telling me about the whole friendship thing. Well, that speaks to not a good decision based off that, right? What other reason did you have?
I thought it was a terrible, just to be clear, I thought it was a terrible signing for Huntley to go to the Miami Dolphins. He is nothing like Tua. Huntley is a mobile quarterback that's a see-it passer. Tua is an anticipatory passer that his best strength is his accuracy.
Right.
I would have found a quarterback that could, a Joe Flacco type quarterback that can stand in a pocket and accurately read a defense. That style of quarterback. And speaking of Joe Flacco, he got some action this weekend also. Looked pretty good in Indianapolis. Looks like that Shane Steichen offense is still running perfectly when Anthony Richardson's on the sideline. Nothing against Richardson, but the point being is the style of your offense and the quarterback matters so much. And for you to go from Tua to Huntley, it's probably not the move I would see. I don't think stylistically Huntley matches what Mike McDaniels does down there.
I mean, shouldn't they be thinking about life beyond Tua? I mean, I hope his career continues and he doesn't have to retire. But if we're a betting man, it's one more hit and it's over for him, right? Like, I hope it's not. I hope the kid doesn't get a concussion. It's not me saying that. But, like, I would call up the Bengals and be like, hey, man, what is it going to take to get Jake Browning? Right?
Yeah.
Give it a shot. He showed something last year. I think, he's got a good enough arm. He played very well for a team that didn't have a lot to win. What assets are these teams? Hold on. What are they going to ask for? A 2nd round pick? Okay. Take it. Right? Because maybe Tua comes back, he plays well, and, hey, Jake, come on over here. You might be able to start in a year. You know what I mean? He's not starting behind Joe ever. So it's not like he would fight it. Like, think. It doesn't make any sense. It's almost like the Dolphins don't really care about winning. They just care enough to be relevant so they can put asses in the seats. They seem like one of those franchises.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. I'm with you. Even if you brought in Brian Hoyer, I know that sounds crazy, but that guy I think would run the offense a lot better than what Huntley does.
Yeah, come on. I mean,
Yeah.
he did well for the Ravens when he was when he played when Lamar was hurt, but that's a totally different style of offense.
It is.
You can't like that's. I didn't even know that, Gene. Him listening to Waddle because that's his workout friend is just no leadership from the coaching position in that organization. That's ridiculous.
Well, speaking of the NFC South, let's talk about the Atlanta Falcons versus the New Orleans Saints. What a football game that was. It was a game that looked like the Falcons dominated the entire game. They were leading the whole time. And then all of a sudden, the Saints got a couple plays that hit for them. They score late. And here comes Kirk Cousins, that Atlanta offense. They got them into field goal range. Not really field goal range because Younghoe Koo's career-long kick was 53 yards. And Koo, it's a 58-yard kick walk-off for the win for the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons play tonight. The Saints have now lost 2 straight. What direction do you think these 2 NFC South teams are headed? Kyle, start with you.
Well, I feel like with the Kirk Cousins move, I feel like the consensus was that the Falcons were the best team because they were in the running last year and they dealt with Ritter and Heineke.
Yeah.
I feel like everybody would say Kirk Cousins is better than both of them. I think for the Saints, the Saints weren't necessarily looked at that well. And maybe this 2-game stretch is just them starting to regress to where a lot of us think they are as maybe third in that division with all the mess going on in Carolina. And we know Tampa has had a good start as well. I mean, isn't this what the Saints did last year? They started off well and then slowly but surely started to become kind of dysfunctional, losing games, questions about Derek Carr and everything, which probably might happen this season as well if they continue to lose right now. I know that they have like Spencer Rattler and a couple of guys sitting on the sidelines. I think the Falcons should ascend from this, but I've seen the Falcons enough to know that the minute you start believing in them, they'll lose a game or two, and then you're like, well, this is why Atlanta is always kind of right on the cusp, but never going to really be a legit contender in the NFC.
Always the bridesmaid.
Exactly, and I think tonight will be a interesting test for them. But I expect to see these 2 teams the Falcons go up, and the Saints, I think, will continue to slide.
Are you saying the Falcons will rise up?
I mean, they love saying that. I mean, rise up to somewhat relevant, sure.
I mean, you could kind of describe Derek Carr's career that way too, right? I mean, in Kirk Cousins' career when it comes to primetime in the same manner. Like, you think they're going to take the next step?
Won on primetime. We're not going to talk about that. Kirk Cousins just won on primetime.
All right, let's look at the winning percentage overall.
No, I get it, but like
the clock is a wrong clock is right twice a day. Come on,
he's been better the last few times he's been on primetime.
Okay,
even the playoff
Saturday night game last year, right? Well. We went Saturday night game last year. But real quick, before we go too far into the game tonight, I do, it's funny because Stephen A's got the Stephen A list. I want to see if I can guess Kyle Edwards' F list. And this is the list of the teams he hates the most, right? And I it's funny because I know the Falcons are there. I know the Ravens are there. I'm just assuming the Jets and Dolphins are there. But I want you to see if I can get your top 5. And I want you to think about your top 5 most hated teams in the NFL. And me and Godfrey are going to try to get the top 5. I think 4 of them are easy. Do you have the top 5?
You might be surprised.
Do you have the top 5 ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just Godfrey muted himself. So I'll guess them. I'll see if I can guess them. The Ravens will be one of your top 5. What position would they be in?
Ravens are like 2 right now.
2.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're not 1.
Nope.
Okay. The Atlanta Falcons.
I actually don't hate the Atlanta
Yeah,
Falcons.
it's funny because you always trash them.
I just keep it real about them. A lot of people in Atlanta will either go way off the deep end in terms of positivity or way off the deep end in terms of negativity. I try to keep it in the middle. I actually don't hate. I was a big Matt Ryan fan.
The New York Jets.
That's the number 1 for me.
Hate them the most.
Yes.
I'll stay in the division. Buffalo.
I actually don't hate Buffalo.
Miami's
kind of irrelevant, so I don't necessarily hate them.
All right, so there's 3 more teams that aren't in your division. Okay. The Dallas Cowboys.
They're number 5 for me.
Okay, so we got Godfrey. We got 1, 2, and 5.
So we got to guess who might be on his top 5.
His 5 most hated teams.
I know number 1's Baltimore. I didn't hear it, but am I right?
No, it's number 2. The
Number
Jets are 1, the Ravens are 2, and number 5 are the Dallas Cowboys. We're missing 3 and 4, and it's not the Dolphins or Patriots or Falcons.
Wow.
I that's where I'm at. I'm shocked too. We're all shocked listening at home.
The Bills?
Right. We said the Bills. No Bills.
Nope.
All right, so the Browns.
No.
Oh, Steelers.
I used to, but not anymore. Steelers have moved just outside the top 5.
Oh, that's because you guys don't have that rivalry anymore. But I guarantee.
Anything Freddie likes.
That's a lot of teams.
One of his teams.
That's a lot. So the Giants?
Giants are 4.
Oh, yeah. I know why you hate the Giants, because they ripped those 2 Super Bowls from you. That's why you hate the Giants.
Yes.
Are the Eagles on the list?
No.
Okay, it's good. I know. All right, so where are we at? Is it an AFC or an NFC team left?
It is a AFC team.
Okay, AFC team. The Chiefs.
Used to. I respect the Chiefs now, so no.
Chase, I don't know where else to go at this point.
I'm gonna guess. The Denver Broncos.
It's the Denver Broncos.
Wow, why? Where's the hate come from the Broncos?
I mean, Brady.
Was it the Brock Osweiler year?
No, not Brock Osweiler. It was just something about when the Patriots went to Mile High. It was always like a horror place for them to go, and I just feel like that's kind of where it was kind of cultivated. So, yeah.
Now they got that scumbag coach over there, so it doesn't help.
True. Yeah.
All right, but let's talk about one more game before we preview tonight's game. And this game, I really just kind of wanted to get, 2 more games. We're going to do 2 more. One of them I really wanted to talk about was because they won the football game, but there's still conversation. Monday morning, you had a group of players that ran into the office of the offensive coordinator saying, we're not a Pop Warner team. You need to update this goddamn offense. And that was coming off a win. Anybody want to guess where this happened? This happened in Chicago. In Shane Waldron's office, a group of players went in the office and said, yo, we're not a Pop Warner team. Update the goddamn playbook. What are we doing here?
Yeah.
They beat the Rams 24-18. I'll give credit where credit's due. That defense and Eberflus are very good on the defensive end. They don't seem to ever find an offense that can play. I've never seen – when was the last time – and just guys help me. I don't think they've ever had a good offense. But when was the last time you were like, that Bears offense is just all about it? Ever. They've never had a 4,000-yard passer. Do you ever remember a good Bears offense? Like the Jay Cutler, Brandon Marshall, Alshon Jeffrey year, I guess they were serviceable.
I'm trying. You guys hear that? I have nothing for you. I don't.
There's no good Bears offenses. So Shane Waldron, the offensive coordinator for the Chicago Bears, has gotten a lot of critique. And you look at what's happened. Guys, I'll come on this show. I did it on the morning show. I did it on Wire to Wire, and I'll do it here. I owe an apology to Cliff Kingsbury. I owe an apology to him because I trashed that man for 2.5 years in Arizona. And I'm like, you have this talented quarterback in Kyler Murray, and you can't make anything of it. And I don't know why. I just didn't take a step back and go, well, wait a minute. Maybe it's the moron that doesn't want to study and doesn't want to read coverage. Maybe he just wants to play too much Call of Duty, because what he's done with Jaden Daniels over in Washington is absolutely insane. Now, we're going to get to Washington in a second, but the question I have to ask you is, it's 4 weeks into the season. Are you ready to call Jaden Daniels a better quarterback than Caleb Williams? Kyle's already on the boat.
I said it before the draft. I would go Daniels over Williams. I said it, and I feel like this is going to be a situation where it's been 2 years in a row. I thought Stroud over Young. I thought Daniels over Williams. I just think with Daniels, he's more of a polished product. So that's why you're seeing him as a better quarterback now.
Put Daniels on the Bears offense. Do you feel the same way? Does the same results happen?
I would like to think so. You got Roma, Dunze, DJ Moore.
The same results don't happen.
You know why? Because that Washington offensive line is balling.
They're a terrible offensive line, though.
What are you talking about? Then their run game's been great. Brian Robinson's been great. Eckler, when he's in, they had Jeremy McNichols in there this week balling. I think they're doing good. I think, listen, Kingsbury, man, if Kyler Murray had any heart, this would be the game that he wanted to win. And that's not a good secondary. That is not a good secondary that Washington has. You're absolutely correct. And I'm just like, dude, I was all over. I was like, dude, this is the Kyler Murray revenge game. Crapped himself. I think JD Daniels is good, but I don't know if I can co-sign he's better than Caleb yet, because Shane Waldron, I mean, I saw an interview with Jackson Smith and Jigba, and they asked him about Shane Waldron. It was very indicting of him when he talked about how his route tree is much bigger now than it was before, right? That's a thing we're seeing. And they show the stats, and it's much bigger than it was. It was like 5 routes that it was running last year compared to like 26. And that's the same crap they were complaining about in Chicago, right? So you're putting 2 and 2 together, and like, all right, the kid's out there trying to play. You have this talent, and this dude's, it's a Pop Warner offense. Like, there's some simple offenses out there, but you better execute. And, listen, you got Keenan Allen, who's a great route runner. I know he just came back. DJ Moore is very talented. Roman Dunze is a young, talented receiver. You got the receivers. You're not playing with poverty to receivers out here. So Shane Waldron should be on the hot seat as the Bears offensive coordinator, because I got to tell you what, they're not putting that quarterback in position to succeed and develop. It's unbelievable that they even won last week. If the Rams had any semblance of a defense, and it's looking like old Chicago Bears football. Okay, we'll just kind of like, squeak out some offense and have a good defense. Like, and they drafted this kid because he was going to take their offense to the next level. So they moved away from Justin Fields. Meanwhile, Justin Fields is having better games. He's still got flaws, don't get me wrong. And with Arthur freaking Smith, who I don't think highly of at all. But, I mean, Shane Waldron was supposed to be good. And you hear former receivers talking about him like this. I think if you had Jaden Daniels on the Bears, you'd be having a reverse conversation if he was in Washington. You'd be like,
I do agree with that, but I do think that we are underrating what Jaden Daniels has done so far. I think that they're starting to really catch up to what he's done in the league. And I'm
he's looked good.
He was good in the SEC, but I didn't see this good. I had him ranked as my number 2 quarterback coming out. I did. I had Caleb 1, Jaden 2. And then there was just such a mishmash between 3, 4, and 5. I wasn't high on Drake May. I wasn't high on JJ McCarthy. I told you I like Bo Nix and Michael Penix more than those 2. I also told you I like Spencer Rattler more than those 2. But with that being said, the gap between 1 and 2 for me was wide going into the draft. I'm not ready to say I'd rather take Jaden Daniels over Caleb Williams. But what I am ready to say is that situations really matter in the NFL. And you got to stop drafting quarterbacks with the number 1 overall pick on coaches on lame duck contracts. It's just got to stop happening. I'm so sick of this. The coach has to win the football game. If you draft a quarterback number 1 overall, your only job year 1 is to develop that quarterback. Wins and losses are irrelevant year 1. They
You know
are
we didn't-
relevant.
You know, we didn't see on Hard Knocks. Maybe I missed the episode I watched. I did miss one, so you might correct me if I'm wrong here. I
Okay.
saw more segments where Eberflus was talking to Caleb Williams
Yes, you're right. That
than
happened. Way
Shane
more.
Waldron.
That happened way more than I would expect it to be.
Why? This is a defensive guy. Not that Eberflus shouldn't be talking to him, but they
You're
should
absolutely
be.
correct.
They
was
should be.
definitely a takeaway.
Yeah, they should. They should definitely be. Simpatico. They should not be inseparable. He should be having him over for dinner with his family.
Yep.
And then after dinner, they're going over film and going over the playbook, right? And this guy Shane Waldron, man, I thought higher of him coming into the season, and I think less of him because I've seen Seattle's offense get better, and I've seen Chicago's offense flatline. I mean, with more talent coming in than they had the year before.
You know who was in Seattle before Shane Waldron, right?
No.
Dave Canales. Canales went from Seattle to Tampa Bay and is now the head coach of the Carolina Panthers. His specialty is reclamation projects. He went from Geno Smith to Baker Mayfield to now Andy Dalton. That's what his specialty has been throughout his career.
And Ryan Grubb is in Seattle now, who is a great he was the Washington coach, right? Or he was the offensive coordinator.
Quarterbacks coach in Washington. Eric Bieniemy was their offense coordinator last year.
Yeah, so he was known for being good with receivers from what I was reading about him coming into the season, and it looks like that in Seattle right now. I mean, I just, man, they're not. It's really upsetting because I think Caleb does have the talent, but like the offensive line piece is amazing to me because
both of them came into the season with offensive lines ranked in the bottom 10 in the league. Mm-hmm. Now Washington's offensive line is playing better, but a lot of that has to do with play calling. A lot of that has to do with the way that the system, the ball getting out quickly or moving the pocket or play action or using the run game, using a read option game, keeping someone home to protect against Jaden running.
Yeah, I did like Jaden Daniels' profile coming out because I do know when he has performed well in college, he's had a tier 1 type of receiver. He had Ayuk as a rookie. I wouldn't say a rookie, but a freshman in Arizona. And then he had Neighbors, over there in LSU. And I think McLaurin's the right guy to have. I mean, I'm impressed. I mean, he's doing better quicker than I thought he was going to do. And
100%. I think we can all agree that. I don't think even Kyle ranking him as high as he did, I don't think Kyle can predict it. Like, there's guys already ranking him as the number 1 quarterback in the NFC going forward. I don't have him that high yet.
Mm-hmm.
But let me ask you guys this question.
They got to temper their expectations on that. I mean,
well, hold on. Let's do 6 quarterbacks. Let's do it just for fun. We're all here. We're having fun tonight. Then we'll talk about Ravens Bills for a second. Then we'll preview tonight's game. But let's just do this for fun. We're going to draft as if we were starting an NFC franchise right now. The top 6 quarterbacks in order who we want to have. Now, you get to pick the head coach around him. You get to pick the offensive coordinator around him. But we're going to draft the top 6 quarterbacks in the NFC. Age matters. Situation is your situation.
We make our
any situation you want.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I'll do a quick randomizer to see who goes first. Hang on. Kyle, pick a number 1 through 4.
4.
Okay. Godfrey.
2.
Godfrey 1, Gene 2, Kyle 3. That'll be the order.
So we're picking a quarterback that we want to start our franchise with.
Correct.
And
starting right now.
Presumably he's in the ideal situation coming into the season.
Correct. You get to pick a situation.
We don't got to name the situation. We just got to say the quarterback. All right.
Say the quarterback. You're building a franchise that you get to pick situation from. NFC quarterbacks only.
NFC quarterbacks only. God damn it.
The first overall pick, Godfrey.
Age is a factor.
Yes.
That's a tough one. NFC is the more and more I think about it, it's not too
I have my 6 quarterbacks in order, so I'm ready. My order is not going to change.
Yeah, man, I'm thinking about it. Because I'm looking at age and like I'm just trying to think. I keep wanting to default to the AFC because there's so many damn quarterbacks over there.
Yep.
If we're going NFC, I mean, see, man, Jalen Daniels is doing well, but he's definitely going to be in my 6 for sure. Question is,
100% could be.
he's
It's in my 6.
yeah, man. All right, listen. All right, I'll just be the guy and take this. I'm going to take Caleb Williams if it's an ideal situation.
It's okay. You're picking a situation. I'm not taking Jaden Daniels number 2 either. I'm taking Jordan Love from the Green Bay Packers. I think putting him in the right situation, I think he's ready. He's shown you now for 2 straight games. And the end of last year, he is walking into the prime of his career. Give me Jordan Love.
I was going to go Jordan Love. He slipped to 3.
No way he was sliding to 3. I would take him 1 overall.
I mean, I was wishful thinking.
I get it.
I mean, at 3, I'd probably go. I'll go Brock Purdy 3.
Brock Purdy. All right, who's your 4? Godfrey.
My 4.
Yep.
I mean, we went Williams. I mean, I'll go Daniels 4. I mean, I don't have a problem doing that.
I'll go 29-year-old Jared Goff. Just had a perfect passer rating this past week. Give me Goff at number 5.
It was 18 for 18. Is I mean, don't you got to go?
18 still very solid, right? Was there a 70-yard touchdown in there?
Well, Jameson Williams was one of the big plays. Yeah,
70-yard touchdown. One of those 18 passes. You got the 6th pick. And I'll tell you right now, Dak's still there. Jalen Hurts is still there. It's got to be between those 2 at this point, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you're basically picking between Jalen and Dak for 6.
I'd probably go slight edge. I'd probably go Dak 6.
I don't know if you heard that.
I figured that was coming.
No, it's fair.
I mean, I wanted to say Jalen, but
I'm upset. I'm upset at your pick.
It's all right.
But I mean, at this point, it's fair for what's been shown over the. Yeah, I mean, I don't hate it. I disagree, but I can't blame you for wanting to go that reason. Go that way. So number 6 was Dak.
Yes.
Yep.
Man, NFC is rough right now.
It's weak. Now, real quick, we got to wrap up. We're got a game to break down, but I really want to talk about this Baltimore Ravens Buffalo Bills game that happened on Sunday Night Football. Baltimore really showed up for this football game, including Derrick Henry. The first play of the game, what was it, a 70-yard run for Derrick Henry? I mean, I don't think he was touched. Just ran through the hole. And for a guy to be that large, to have that type of breakaway speed is insane to me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, quieted all the doubters of the signing right there with that one, right? I mean, I think we now know what the Ravens are looking to do. They're looking to limit the opportunities for mistakes, control the clock, run the ball, keep the defense rested. I mean, you've even seen them dial back the passes to the tight ends outside of the first game. So really where you have to get them is where they have to get away from the run. So you got to be able to score on them, right? Now, the Chiefs didn't put up a ton of points on them, but for whatever reason, everybody plays the Chiefs like you're going to drop 50 on them, and they start making decisions they shouldn't make. So outside of that game, I think we saw week 4 was really the real team starting to show up. And, when you look at it, you're looking at things like, they should have won the game they won the way they did against the Bills. The Bills have nobody on defense, and they impose their will on them. Nobody can stop the run on that team. And they made them play from behind, and they had to play from behind a lot this year. So that game shouldn't have been surprising, but it was also impressive in the manner that they won it. And the way Derrick Henry took over the game, would get 199 yards or something like that. It was, I'll never doubt the king again.
I mean, for me, like looking at that game, going into it, it was Baltimore wants to run the ball. Buffalo's like middle of the league in terms of stopping the run, as opposed to Buffalo wanting to throw the ball and the Ravens having a terrible secondary. I think what that game kind of showed us was, and Godfrey, you said like the way they want to win is run the ball and the defense and all that. That's what they were last year. It was only because they got to the AFC title game and all of a sudden wanted to flip the script and drop back 50-something times that they looked the way that they did. This has always been their calling card when they had.
I kind of disagree with you, though.
But I mean, they had Gus Edwards, they had J.K. Dobbins, who unfortunately could never stay healthy. It was basically run the ball, use Mark Andrews over the middle. That's how they played. And then their defense, their front seven was just so good at wrecking other teams' offenses. The offense didn't have to be too dynamic. And I still have questions about, let's say you get to a playoff situation and Derrick Henry is slowed down a little bit. The question is still there. Can Lamar make enough plays with his arm to beat playoff quality teams when it matters? I think that's always going to be there until he actually does it.
I don't disagree.
Yeah, but luckily Derrick Henry is a better running back than Dobbins and Gus Edwards combined could ever be. So maybe the margin of error for their offense is now a little bit better, but this is kind of what Baltimore has been.
You know why?
Mentality.
Steve Spagnuolo's defenses are going to gang tackle you.
Exactly.
Right? And he comes from the school, of Jim Johnson and guys like that, where if you hear players get interviewed about what teams they hated playing, a lot of them would say the Eagles, right? And this is the Jim Johnson era. And the reason is because they knew they were going to get hit a million times, not just from Brian Dawkins, everybody except Bobby Taylor sometimes. She knows what I mean there. But except everybody was going to hit you. And when you face a guy like Derrick Henry, you have to do that. It's like chopping wood. And it's going to wear him down, and he's not going to get now, the Bills, they don't have anybody like that. They don't.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there's going to be teams that are going to be able to do that too. But you're right. When they get in the playoffs, they're going to come up against a team like the Chiefs that are going to gang tackle this guy. You know what I mean? They're going to say, beat us with the pass. But does it lessen the margin of error that might be made by other players on the team if you have a guy with that kind of strength? And the thing is, people keep waiting for Derrick Henry to fall off the cliff, but it's not happening. I mean, listen, that was an impressive game. The dude is a beast. I mean, sometimes when you watch him run, you're like, is he that much bigger than that other guy? It's ridiculous.
It's silly. It really is silly.
The stiff arm was silly. Like, it just, did you hear the story about, I forget who it was that was playing the Ravens? I think it was Diggs on the Cowboys. He was telling a story about how when he was getting tackled, Diggs was like, "You're not stiff arming me."
Yeah.
So
I heard that.
I mean, dude, he's a beast. He works out. I mean, he really tries to stay in shape. So, I mean, it's looking good. Jory's like, guess who won a game? Finally, the Titans.
Hey, listen, they won a football game. They played very good defense again on Monday Night Football. It was 3 out of 4 games the Titans have played good defense. Offense, yeah, it is what it is. But
Will Levis is done. I've already seen enough. I'm off board on Will Levis.
I actually thought Mason Rudolph looked better.
He did. He executed the offense. He did.
Well, tonight we got a game. The Buccaneers play at the Falcons. I want to give predictions on this game. I want to give a breakdown of this game. I will say this, right? This is a totally different Buccaneers team, totally different Falcons team than you're used to. I'll go third here. Godfrey, I think you know where I'm going already. But how do you see this game going?
I see them running the ball on the Saints.
Oh, the Saints don't play tonight. It's Bucs at Falcons.
I'm sorry. I see them running the ball. And is it in Atlanta?
It's in Atlanta on the carpet.
Yeah, I see Bijan having a big game, and they were saving him, I think, for this week because Algier got a lot more touches last week in a big game. Teams, I think, are doing that more so when they're on a short week with running backs.
Okay.
I think Bijan has a big game. I think they're going to run on him, and I see Baker having some trouble with that secondary. I think the Falcons are going to win this game on the leg of Young Hoku.
Young Wei Koo. Nobody understands the coup. Kyle, how do you see this game breaking down?
I mean, I kind of feel the same way that this is a game that they should establish Bijan Robinson, take the Todd Bowles effect with his defense out of this, go straight at them, try to be more physical. I feel like it's a game that Atlanta should win. It's in Atlanta on a short week. Like, you're going to have the crowd, you're going to have the atmosphere. I expect Kirk Cousins to make some plays. I know there's a lot of people freaking out about Kyle Pitts not really being involved. I mean, that's a whole nother thing for another day. But I mean, as much as I like the Bucs, I feel like these two teams will split. So I would expect the Bucs to probably win in Tampa later on in the season. I just feel like for the short week and being at home, I think Bijan Robinson has a good game. I think Kirk Cousins has an efficient game. I don't think his numbers will blow you out of the water or anything like that. But I just think they get it done tonight.
I think that, and when I look at the way this is structured, I think that Kirk Cousins is understanding enough of what a defense will do, and I think that you can't essentially blitz him the way you blitzed Jalen Hurts last week. I think they'll still have problems moving the football, but I think they'll end up eventually moving the ball, and I think Drake London really gets going this game. Physical wide receiver. The Bucs have a couple injuries in their secondary. I think Bijan will catch the ball out of the backfield and run the ball. And I think where your really big difference is I think the Atlanta Falcons defense is going to eat tonight versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. My issue is with Kirk Cousins is just don't turn the ball over. If you don't give the ball to Tampa Bay tonight and you run an efficient offense and score 20 points, 25 points without turning the ball over, you win the football game, because Tampa is missing their starting right tackle this week. They're missing their starting center this week. And that's a no-fly zone down there in Atlanta. That is a no-fly zone in Atlanta. They have a great secondary and Raheem Morris's defense, with being able to get after the passer. I think Bucky Irving has a pretty good game for the Buccaneers. I think he's able to run the football. I think he's, made himself into the number one running back over there in Tampa. I think you'll see Bucky Irving run a lot tonight. I think you'll see Drake London get off in the passing game, and I think you'll see a little Bijan action. I like the Falcons in this one. I like them to win the game 27-13. I think it barely cracks under the under. I got a 27-13 win for the Falcons. I don't think it's as close as most people will think it is. I like the Falcons a lot in this game.
Is it time to call Kyle Pitts a bust?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
I never like the ordinary, different coach, different setup, a quarterback that loves throwing the ball to the tight end. Yes, it's time to call him a bust.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. I think an unsung hero from tonight, I'm going to call it right now, put him down for 3 catches, 60 yards, maybe a touchdown, Darnell Mooney.
Darnell Mooney. I knew you were going there.
Yep. Listen, man, he's been catching the rock from him. He likes him. And I've been noticing it. I know he had the touchdown against the Eagles, kind of a broken play. It doesn't matter. It still counted. Still had a game. And then he did pretty decent last week. He's showing some consistency. And Darnell Mooney, remember, he was injured last year pretty much for the whole year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he was hurt in Chicago. Ray McLeod, Darnell Mooney. I think there's a lot of guys in that Atlanta Falcons team that will eat, but I think Drake London gets off. I think the physical wide receiver and big target for Kirk Cousins will be it tonight. I'll say this. I think Baker will be running for his life tonight. If you take an over for Baker Mayfield, find his over in rushing yards and take that over. I think he'll be scrambling a lot. He'll be running out of that pocket in situations where he has to drop back to throw, and there's not much there. That secondary is very good. A quarterback is not thrown for 250 yards against the Falcons yet. Book that down. It's 4-4 games, but this will be the 5th game a quarterback does not throw for 250 yards versus that Falcons secondary. Raheem Morris has been known for this, and that secondary is really good. Talk about Jesse Bates over there, Justin Simmons. And that safety group is probably the best in football. Baker's
going to throw a pick tonight.
Yeah.
You want to bet?
Yeah.
Bet on a pick from Baker.
I agree with you 100%.
So and he's been doing good. He's been serviceable for that team. Don't get me wrong. However, they're going to make him have to make secondary decisions in that secondary. He's not going to look at the first read and it's going to be open like you saw last week, unfortunately, against the team on my head. He's going to have to look to the second one and the third one, and then he's going to have to recalibrate, and make a decision. And that's a thing that he struggles with, and you've seen it against defenses that will make you do that. They could try to run the ball and have a decent night, but Grady Jarrett's healthy. He's a really good run stopper on that team. I don't know. And by the way, the other telltale that Pitts is a bust is that Ray McCloud is outproducing him. If you asked me if Ray McCloud was going to be anything on anybody's team this year, I'd have been like, you're high. That's what I would have said. And he's been there all 4 games he's played. So
hey. Ray McCloud's family was all about him.
Yeah.
You're talking about Clemson's own Ray McCloud.
Yeah. Nobody had that on their bingo card this year. If
I
you
did.
do, I want to see your damn bingo card.
Me and Ray's family.
I want to see that bingo card. I want hard copies.
I'm just kidding.
No Photoshop pictures.
Any final thoughts before we wrap up tonight, gentlemen?
No, just enjoy football, and now you're going to start seeing teams show who that you really are. You're through the real preseason now, so Dennis Green will be saying they are who we thought they were. After a lot of games this week.
I will stake my claim. If the New York Jets do not cover the spread and win Sunday morning in London, I will not do pick'em for the rest of the year. Look, if we get 500 downloads on Wire to Wire Sports Podcast and the Jets don't win, I'll eat dog food on air.
No, stop.
I will. I need 500 downloads though in a week, so that you can promote that all you want. I don't care, whatever it is. The Jets are going to win Sunday morning, so it doesn't matter. And Corey is right. McDaniel's overrated. Thank you guys for tuning in this week to Sideline to Sideline. Go watch the football game tonight so we can talk about it next week. Appreciate you guys. I'm the NFL genius, Gene Walzak. That is chomping at the bit, Kyle Edwards, and taking it deep with D. Godfrey. We are signing.